What's up viewers, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is probably going to be the best video for 2025 because today I feature the latest Amlogic S905X5 chipset in no other than the latest UGOOS AM9 Android TV box. Now, UGOOS needs no introduction. They have been at the forefront of every new high-end chipset released on the market, and they also develop the best feature-rich firmware with all the bells and whistles you'll ever need. This is the latest chipset release from Amlogic, so you can already expect this video to focus on hardware performance, benchmarks, 3D gaming, 4K video playback, and surround sound audio formats. So stick around, my full review begins right after this. So welcome back after that quick unboxing. In the box, as usual, you have your standard UGOOS Android TV box contents, and these include the all-new AM9 model. You get one Bluetooth voice remote with the mouse feature. You get a pair of external antennas, one HDMI cable, a 5 volts 3 amps DC power adapter, one USB Type-C power delivery cable, and your user manual. So the design of the box has not changed. Its outer shell is made of metal with the UGOOS branding at the top. For I/O, you get one HDMI 2.1 port, one gigabit LAN port, one optical audio, one 3.5mm auxiliary port, one USB Type-C O2G port, and a USB Type-C power delivery port. For connecting external storage and peripherals, you get 3 USB 3.0 ports and a micro SD card reader. On the side, you have connector pins for its Wi-Fi 6 external antennas. At the front, you have an LED power indicator. And to its base is where you'll find its recovery button, a mask run button, 4 rubber feet, and ventilation holes. So when you start up for the first time, you will be greeted with a UGOOS startup animation, followed by the pairing of the Bluetooth remote, whichever of the two models you chose during purchase. This is done by pressing the menu button and the volume up button at the same time until the LED starts flashing, and the box will pair to it automatically. Then you have the option to select between two preloaded launchers. Launcher3, which is more designed to be navigated with a mouse cursor or an A mouse. And the other is ULauncher, which is UGOOS's custom launcher more designed to be navigated with a direction pad and OK button. For this review, I'll be using Launcher3, so I'll set it to always to load each time I restart the box. So when you start up for the first time, you will be greeted with a UGOOS startup animation, followed by the pairing of the Bluetooth remote, whichever of the two models you chose during purchase. Then you have the option to select between two preloaded launchers. Launcher3, which is more designed to be navigated with a mouse cursor or an A mouse. And the other is ULauncher, which is UGOOS's custom launcher more designed to be navigated with a direction pad and OK button. For this review, I'll be using Launcher3, so I'll set it to always to load each time I restart the box. So the UGOOS Launcher3 is one of my all-time favorites, simply because it has all of the features to navigate with a mouse cursor, whether it's from a PC mouse or from a Bluetooth Air mouse remote. You get drag and drop shortcuts, and you can also remove and uninstall apps using the drag and drop feature. You get multiple horizontal scrolling panels, and it comes with a navigation bar and full status bar with system controls. And with the navigation bar, you have your recent apps feature where you can switch between two tile formats, horizontal and horizontal with perspective. So its firmware features include 4K display up to 2160p at 60Hz. And this is true 60Hz as detected by my capture card and not 59.94Hz as seen in other models. Under Advanced Display Settings, you will find options to change its frame buffer size from 1080p to 4K 2160p. This option changes the resolution of the launcher and its entire interface, so if you need the launcher to display in true 4K resolution, this is the option to do it. It also allows apps such as YouTube to play in full 4K resolution without being cropped into a 1080p frame. You can change its color mode to suit your high-end TVs up to 12-bit color depth. You have custom picture settings. Under Preferred Dynamic Range is where you'll find your advanced HDR display settings. You can set HDR always on, but now you have the option to choose which HDR display you want, whether it's HDR10 always on or HLG always on. Or you can disable HDR by setting it to always SDR. And for your auto HDR feature, you switch from forced conversion to match content dynamic range. If you select system preferred conversion, it will turn HDR10 always on. Under format selection, it shows that it has HDR10 and HLG hardware decoders built in. It does not support Dolby Vision or HDR10+. You get auto frame rate switching, HDMI CC options. You have a button mapping feature to assign functions to the colored buttons on the remote. You can change the behavior of the menu button on the remote. You have screen rotation to portrait mode, reverse portrait and reverse landscape. You can change the speed of your USB ports. You can adjust the size and speed of the on-screen mouse cursor. Under Panels and Interface, you can enable or disable the navigation bar or status bar. You can change the format of the recent apps window from horizontal to horizontal with perspective. You get a hardware monitor overlay feature to monitor all of the parameters of the box. And you can control the speed of the UI's animation. You can enable USB microphone access. You have power key definition options. You have a root switch by the way of the Magisk application. For audio, you can enable or disable system songs. You can allow apps to regulate the volume and how many steps they can regulate. You can switch its audio output from HDMI to optical audio. You can switch between USB audio usage, whether it's for microphone or for outputting audio. And you have your surround sound audio options. And under enabled formats, it shows that it has Dolby and DTS hardware surround sound audio decoders built in. Under storage is where you'll find your Samba server, NFS client and CIFS client options. UGOOS is the only manufacturer that provides consistent firmware updates for their boxes. Upon inspecting its firmware features, I noticed that it did not have a sample server feature. As soon as I connected it to the internet, I received a pop-up from UGOOS with a firmware update, and in it contained the new sample server feature. A new segment added to my reviews is to scan the box for malware and viruses, in light of the recent discoveries by the tech community and by the FBI. So out of the box, with no third-party applications installed, the Bitdefender mobile security app detected no malware. And now a word from one of our sponsors, Bitdefender.
What's your travel mindset? Excitement? Curiosity? Confidence? Wherever you're going, Bitdefender is there to protect your data. From handheld devices to enterprise infrastructure, across continents, Bitdefender delivers a digital world you can trust. Wherever you go, go with trust. Choose Bitdefender, global leader in cybersecurity. Trusted, always.
For a special 50% off coupon, check the description directly below this video for an amazing Bitdefender offer. I know you are excited to see what this new chipset has to offer, and so am I. So let's look at its system and hardware information. So the manufacturer of this chipset is Amlogic, and this is the model of the mainboard. It runs on 4GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 64GB of internal storage with Bluetooth 5.3. Its CPU is the Amlogic S905X5, a quad-core Cortex-A510 processor running up to 2.4 GHz, and it's configured in 64-bit mode, so you can run both 32 and 64-bit apps and games. The benchmarks for this model should be quite interesting, seeing that it has the highest clock speeds to date. Its GPU is the Mali-G310 V5 graphics processor, according to the UGOOS labeling on the box. It also comes with OpenGL version 3.2 support. Its network adapter is a Wi-Fi 6 model, and it provides dual-band 2.4 plus 5 GHz Wi-Fi. Its Android version is Android 14, internally codenamed Upside Down Cake, and currently it's not rooted, but it comes with a root switch, as I'll show you in just a moment. Its new Mali-G310 GPU has Vulkan support with a new API version 1.3. It has a very low idle operating temperature of just 46 degrees Celsius. And for video and audio decoders, it comes with 4K HDR decoders such as HEVC, AV1 and VP9 decoding. However, it does not have Dolby Vision. And for surround audio, it has Dolby Atmos EAC3, but I don't see any DTS HD decoder in this list. I will test for these later in the video. So that's the newest set of hardware specs we have seen in a long time. Its DRM information shows that it has Google Widevine Level 1 with no HDCP protection. And for root access, the Root Checker app shows that it's currently not rooted out of the box. You simply head over to the settings area and enable the magic switch and restart the box, and now you will have root access. It comes with the official version of Mirrorcast that allows you to mirror your Android cell phones in HD 1080p quality, and here's a demonstration of me casting an Android cell phone to the box. Let's now take a look at its 4K HDR video playback. Remember, it supports HDR10, AV1 and HLG. It does not support HDR10 Plus or Dolby Vision. So this is HDR10. This is an AV1 video, and it triggers the HDR10 feature. This is a Dolby Vision video, but seeing that it does not support Dolby Vision, it triggers HLG. This is another Dolby Vision video with Dolby Atmos, and it triggers the HDR10 Plus and the Dolby Atmos. This is an HDR10 Plus video, but seeing that it does not support HDR10 Plus, it triggers HDR10. And this is an HLG video, and it triggers the HLG feature. For surround sound audio, when connected to my Sony 7.1 AV receiver, it produces all surround sound audio formats, including DTS HD Master Audio and DTS-X, despite not seeing them listed as a hardware decoder. So this is Dolby Atmos.
This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you.
Next, Dolby Digital Plus.
Whether the soundscape sets the mood of the scene.
Whoa! What is this place?
Here, it outputs DTS HD Master Audio. From a Dolby Vision video, it produces Dolby Surround. You get Dolby True HD.
This is the left channel. Next, we have the center channel.
And DTS-X. I also discovered that in the audio surround sound settings, you need to enable all audio formats manually. For gaming, most Android box and SBC boards enthusiasts would have an interest in this new chipset's performance. From my testing, I would say that the new Amlogic S905X5 chipset's performance is better than the Amlogic S905X4, but lower than the S922X. Even though it's a 64-bit operating system with higher CPU clock speed and a better GPU, its 4GB of RAM instead of 8GB limits its ability to play certain top-tier 64-bit Android games. All in all, you do get a better 60Hz at 1080p gaming performance from what we are accustomed to.
2006.
And to close things off, let's take a look at some benchmarks and where it ranks on my TV box rankings chart. First, the results of its RAM and internal storage read and write speeds. It has a RAM copy speed of 6,636 megabytes per second. Its internal storage has a read speed of 232 megabytes per second and a write speed of 125 megabytes per second. Next are the results from its Wi-Fi 6 network adapter and its Gigabit Ethernet LAN port. The results show that on its 5 GHz band and on its Gigabit Ethernet LAN port, it achieved the maximum speed of my network of 300 megabits per second. Its 2.4 GHz band averaged around 65 megabits per second. In benchmarking its CPU's single-core and multi-core performance, the new Amlogic S905X5 produced a score of 274 single-core and 796 multi-core. From these results, its single-core performance surpasses some of the S922X models, and its multi-core performance surpasses all of them with the exception of the Rockchip models. In benchmarking its graphics performance, its new Mali-G310 GPU delivered an amazing performance with a 3D Mark Wildlife Test benchmark score of 1,244 with an average FPS of 7.45, which is the highest recorded on this channel to date. And in the Antutu benchmark, it scored 271,107. So that's the last of the benchmarks. Let's now see where it ranks on my chart. So I've updated the scores on my chart, and the new UGOOS AM9 at the time of making this video is at position 11 based on the Antutu benchmark score it generated, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 star rating for its hardware and firmware features. So to view this chart or to take advantage of the special coupon links provided, use this link right here. A link to this chart can be found in the description below this video. In summary, the UGOOS AM9 powered by the Amlogic S905X5 chipset delivers impressive hardware performance, excellent firmware features, and top-tier connectivity, making it one of the most feature-rich Android TV boxes currently available. It excels in benchmark scores, offers robust 4K HDR playback of HDR10, HLG, and AV1 formats. It supports a wide range of surround sound audio formats including Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, and provides a wealth of customization options like route switching, advanced display controls, and button mapping. UGOOS's commitment to frequent firmware updates and inclusion of power user tools such as hardware monitoring and max performance mode also adds strong value. However, it lacks Dolby Vision and HDR10+ support. It ships with only 4 GB of RAM, which limits its high-end 64-bit gaming potential and its Antutu benchmark score, while solid doesn't place it at the very top of the performance chart. Still, for users seeking a balanced mix of strong performance, deep customization, and consistent updates, the AM9 stands out as a worthy choice. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to UGOOS for sponsoring the AM9 for today's review. If you would like to grab one of these at the lowest price online, you can find a purchase link along with a special coupon in the description below this video. If you enjoyed this review, please show your support by clicking the like button. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to click the subscribe button and ring the notifications bell so you'll be first to know when I release new videos, post open box deals, or host a giveaway. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this video. Stay connected and see you in the next one.